My friend was looking at Jung's mandalas. Jung went through quite a period of being an artist. He made a book called the Red Book, and my friend Berry has the Red Book, so she decided to make her own mandala in response. That's a work I did in response to that. That's kind of a quasi-collaborative with an artist up the road called Nathan Thompson, I think. And we took turns on that backwards and forwards a few times. And so some of his Eastern symbolism is in there. I pretty much destroyed a lot of what he did, and anyway, I didn't mean to. It was kind of collaborative. There's this weird process with art where your intentions often get abandoned because you can't follow through on your own expectations, and then it becomes abject, and then you might as well do something with it because it's already there, and this might take years. And there's a real kind of often you end up somewhere where you never expected to go, and it becomes a mystery. So weirdly enough, keeping in line with the sense of mystery is that it is still a collaborative with Nathan, because there's sort of some underlining compositional things that are still evident in what he did, and the colour itself is what Nathan plays with a lot. So I kept to that co-papa, if you like, but a lot of the end sort of is mine. But weirdly enough, there's some text on the back that says ecstatic love, and I'm sort of meaning ecstasy in terms of sort of the frustration and futility of higher self and ego mind self trying to sort of reconcile identity and fragility and power, and that sort of dilation of opening and closing with sort of profoundness, poetic sort of everything that being an artist is purported to be does happen in the human being. So that's that one, and I'm very lucky that a kind collector is coming to pick it up today, who is a psychiatrist, and he will probably have it in his office. I hope he does. He's got a big collection of my stuff. So I wanted to show you this work, and to begin showing you this work, I'm going to show you this is Yamagama, I think you say it like that, Yamagama ceramic, and I'm using it as a cincha, and again my friend Berry has been making real incense, so that's some real incense, frankincense and myrrh, and this one in particular is valerian. But the cincha, this is like a head with a hole, a fontanelle. And I love ceramic, and the Yamagama technique is this awesomely primitive wood-fired kiln, like a birth, like a womb, like a heat alchemy. You stoke the fucker for 3 days, and you have to sit with it and maintain it. And the earth gets baked. So this is some bizarre glaze, and it's like some concrete. This is a multiple piece. It's sort of a profile that way with a big nose. And Daryl Frost up in Mapua way. Yeah, there you go. But I like him that way. Yeah, so this is that's sand. I just put sand in the hole. So yeah, it's becomes sort of ceremonial. And I do meditate with it, but in this case I'm taking video. So the smoke is chemical, and it's a bridge between olfactory, memory and sense, and cognitive embodiment of stuff. So this work is a little bit big. It scared the crap out of me. It's pretty much the first Edgeland mural. There's been several, but it's a diptych. I've just been integrating it. Like I said, it scared the crap out of me. So my show in Christchurch coming up is Edgeland, the unsayable being said over and over. And it's a response to David Eagleton. Now, I'm just going to cut to the chase. My big revelation, given that it's a supermoon at the moment, so I know I've been panicking a bit over curation and self-identity, fucking art management, going back in time and assessing older works for a show, which I have to see myself. It's really painful. But then it's not always about me. Okay, what I think's going on, well, it's not one narrative, it's many. And that's the mystery of art. And this is 285 centimetres high and about almost 5 metres long. Okay, so one of the woolly countercultural philosophy academics I listen to is a guy called Terence McKenna, and Terence McKenna is very interested, amongst many things, in information theory. Complex systems. Terence was he was billed as the successor to, hi Terence, successor to Timothy Leary in the sort of countercultural psychedelic thing in America. Anyway, Terence cited academics of his own era or era before him. So Marshall McLuhan was someone that he references about. What am I talking about? Okay, so David Eagleton's a poet. Christchurch had a collapse and a mass gun shooting. We're in a paradigm shift in the West and globally. So initially I thought this was about collapse and gun shootings and sort of the implied fall of the West in terms of oligarchical sort of fascist dictatorship Brave New World sort of scripts of management and control and perception. Yeah, I won't go into the details of motivations and things, but what I think this work's actually now dealing with, in a weird, intuitive, woolly way, is you've got the translation of a text-based culture, a linear text-based culture, perhaps even church, and collapse, cathedrals, and you've got a sort of primitive, old brain thing going on here, the Dark Ages. You got a linear text-based culture, civilization, and then you're off the fucking deep end, you're off the cliff, you're in an atomized sub-quantum field. You've got 100 years ago, you've got quantum physics. And now you've got a digitized culture, you've got a globalism, you've got a self that's been unpacked, you've got a sense of schizoid identity, you've got multiple data point references, you've got depths and layers, you've got a different architecture of language and processing. Yeah, so you've got a linear text-based culture that's turning into a digital information culture. And that's as radical as birth control, penicillin, or the nuclear bomb. You know, the pen is mightier than the sword. Well, you know, this is mightier than all armies. That's the kind of narrative I think that might be going on. You've got a fragmentation, you've got a shredding, you've got you got a curtain vista, you've got a burn edge of re-entry. You got atmospheres, you've got dilations. It's sort of the fractal confusion of post-modernity and all that stuff. And I'm not pretending to be a academic, I'm just cherry-picking generalisms, but and even though, you know, I'm tagging this as a reference to Mr. Eggleton's body of work and specific poems in general, there's a I love David because he keeps rescuing me from my over-seriousness. His voice and his poems are as dark and vicious and ridiculous and sublimely humorous. You know, he really is a clown, and it's a fantastic, a dark clown sometimes, but it's a fantastic repose to my morbid, obsessional sort of. But yeah, so look, that's the gist. You know, there's whatever anyone else gets is fine, but I think that's why I'm really proud, and I take this work very seriously, not only at scale, which, you know, it's loose banners at the moment. It could be adhered, and, you know, could be supported on frame, but I've had this sort of rolled, scrunched up in the container, and it unpacks fine. And this one's very weighty. This is actually from the Dunedin Public Show 7 years ago, and it was just too heavy. So I dismantled it, firmed it up by putting it on some clean, strong canvas and scoured it like a hide. I took my angle grinder to it and hammer and bashed the fuck off every piece I could. And what remains is, you know, I mean, I'm a strong guy, and what remains is what couldn't be removed. So, you know, it's been beaten up. And that was an aesthetic of choice. I tried not to rip the surface too much, but that's a truck tie. Yeah. So yeah, and ropes that bind. You know, seaweed. And this is going to be on show in Christchurch, down the road from where my brother hung himself. So, you know, there's a bit of you know, there's a bit of sort of metaphors there, but yeah. There's sort of some kind of kraken-like creature there. What I love about sort of intuitive, chaotic form mark-making, I mean, you know, apparently is the narratives that come out are often incidental and not intended, and I am constantly... So here you've got this... I'm ripping away bandaged shreds as well in this turns out to be this very, cave painting of a sort of pixel thing, and it looks like a proto-digital little man running to me, like very early video game glyph, like, and he's sort of in a portal. And there's a circle that's iterated over there. So yeah, dirty. This was going to be. This was my first. I did that pyramid one, then I did the Big David one, and this was the first ripped edge one I did on its own, and it didn't quite work for me. Betwixtingly incomplete. Interesting as fuck, but when I added that, it just gave it depth. It gave it a horizon, the central line in that sort of quasi big mountainous sort of form there, and then that horizon turns into a linear thing. I mean, a vertical thing, and sort of a scattering. So yeah, you've got this kind of linear horizon thing, and then you've got this scrambled bandwidth intensity, your sort of 5G information expansion, and sort of maybe even something to do with, the Brave New World of individuals not being individuals really anymore, in terms of atomizing the self and creating market algorithms of everything. So there's lots of things, but information theory, complexity, unknown, language, civilization. Yeah, so language is the DNA of the civilization. So our language has changed, and we will be made anew. That we're in an epoch, we're in a transition of being able to design ourselves. And we always have been. I mean, that's what gardening is, that's what architecture is, but literally building blocks. So the language we use to map that is, of course, no branch knows what another branch is doing, and I think that might be a little bit sort of chaotically, but by design as well. Everything's sort of compartmentalised. But yeah, I'm not trying to tell a conspiratorial rant. I'm trying to tell a story of the unknowability of maybe the way... so anyway, thanks. I've been babbling. Yeah, so this has been a particularly hard work for me to ingest and come to terms with, in terms of the Jamesness of it. But to me, beyond me and my experience as artist and self, I think it tells a really interesting and necessary story, because I think Christchurch and the wider narratives I sort of speak of is implicated to tell the truth. But that's some of the overarching themes of where I think my archaic language and these fragments, these Dead Sea Scroll kind of fragmentary sort of data process, time and history, and so the imagination, and speculative past, future, pasts, and it's all at play here. The skin I've grafted from my mountain home, in this far-flung colonial outpost of the brave new world, Ministry of Information. Yeah. Okay, 20-minute little short film there. Thank you so much for your attention. I'm very pleased to have your attention. What did I call this, by the way? Edgeland, the unsayable being.